Hi, it's Eliana at Awakening Cosmic Reality Show, and today we have Ismael Perez with us. Welcome, Ismael.
Thank you, Eliana, for having me here. It's always good to connect with other light warriors as well.
Indeed. So today we're going to be talking about DNA evolution and soul evolution on Earth. Can you please tell us how that happens?
Well, DNA evolution and soul evolution are two separate evolutions, although in some cases, many would assume that they are working hand in hand, which is correct. But the soul evolution has a lot to do with evolving consciousness, whereas DNA evolution is more about evolving an avatar, a vehicle, um, you know, um, I guess there's many names for it. Let's just stick to the term avatar, right?
Mhm.
So the distinction is that the soul is eternal spark of source consciousness, which means that each and every single soul out there or being that has a soul is a reflection or a emanation of the one consciousness that permeates and embodies all of existence. So in essence, we are eternal. And when you think of what quantum physics has said about our reality, that everything is energy and that energy is neither created nor destroyed, that tells us that our soul was never created or destroyed. So in terms of soul evolution, um, it's all about the expansion of soul. And how do we do that? Through the elevation of consciousness. So in terms of soul evolution, we could say that our soul is eternal, but it is in a state of always expanding. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas, cool. Whereas the body, in many cases, sometimes the higher intelligences have to evolve a vehicle from the ground up, which means from the clay of the earth, and that explains what I call in my book the upward evolution of terrestrials, of different biological specimens that start their evolution from the bottom up, and they first go through the stage of existence known as an element, and then after they surpass or achieve higher levels of awareness, then they become a plant or a tree. And then they graduate their consciousness over into the a level of existence of a mammal. And then from the mammal, they could go and become human. And then from the human level of existence, they could graduate over into the celestial level of existence. And so what we're dealing with two different processes. We're dealing with the involution of spirit into matter, which is what I call in my book the opposite of evolution, which is the descent. We start off as whole light beings, and through this process of involution, we descend into denser and denser levels of reality. But as we descend into lesser and denser levels of reality, we also seem to lose our connection to everything. That's what brings forth the illusion that everything is separated. And then that's when we have to remember that we are all expressions of the one as we descend through the involutionary process. As we become more separated from oneness, we developed what is known as the individualized unit of consciousness. We developed, the ego comes into play. And so the whole purpose of this whole thing, is to integrate, to remember that we are, part of the oneness while maintaining our individual consciousness. And then the second part of the process is the evolution of young souls, which still come from prime creator source. And these younger souls normally start off as a level of consciousness where they're in one dimension, and then eventually they move to the second dimension, the third, fourth, and fifth, and so on. So where we're at now is we are at the middle point where the wholesome, descending children of light are now integrating with a avatar that was developed from the bottom up. But
Mhm.
even the evolution of our avatar, of our body, was intelligently designed. There was no accidents, and this is where Darwin is wrong. It was intelligently driven. There is a set blueprint where the fish eventually mutates into the amphibian. The amphibian eventually mutates into the different various aspects of mammalian life, and so on and so forth. it was all kind of like intelligently planned. So there are no accidents, even in the evolution of what we call avatar bodies.
Mm-hmm. And I think going back to how the souls come in, when we come in into these 3D bodies, we have the veil of forgetfulness. So it's like we're blanked when we come from the above, like we pre-plan our life and we plan it out. Then we come here, and because of the density, the veil is here, then we forget. Then if we want to remember, we need to work that our way up, correct?
Absolutely, yes. So really what it boils down to, Ileana, is remembrance. Remembrance that we are all fragments of the one, and currently experiencing an individualized unit as a unit of consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So if we're coming from like sixth dimensional worlds on different planets or energetic existences, and we're coming into 3D, do you know why would that happen?
Because in order for us to continue expanding, in order for us to not stay stagnant, we have to experience the lowest of dimensions. And so it was already preordained and pre-planned by the Creator for fragments of itself to experience the lowest densities. Because as we go into lower densities and we experience those, then we also have a greater exaltation, a greater expansion, a greater ascension. So the lower we go, the greater the ascension. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we learn more, we get more opportunity for learning and lessons, as in if we're just existing in 60, we're just doing well, there's no problems, it's all great, correct?
Correct, absolutely, yes.
Might be a beautiful existence, but you're not learning anything challenging to experience.
Exactly. What's the point of only descending down to the sixth and fifth dimension where everything is still in balance and in harmony without really, understanding what it's like to have challenges, to have obstacles, to have opposition, to have contrast, in terms of the different emotional range of or spectrum of emotions. How would you understand joy, peace, and happiness without understanding anxiety, agony, pain, and suffering? So it's all part of the overall expansion of our souls. Yeah.
And people always ask me, how does ascension happen when you're living in 3D and you're trying to go to 5D? Can you explain how that happens?
Through the elevation of our consciousness and awareness, and in turn, that directly ties in with the raising of our vibrational frequency, because through our thoughts and emotions, Ileana, we are emitting a vibrational frequency. And so because all of the dimensions are all around us, there is no such thing as locations. They're all around us, occupying the same space at the same time, as proven through the quantum through the quantum avenues of superposition, that everything exists here. It's just vibrating at different frequencies. It's through the vibrational frequency. It's through the raising of our vibrational frequency by the elevation of our consciousness that we're able to eventually, reach and explore these higher dimensions. And so I've always believed that when we do that, our bodies transfigure to adapt to the new vibrational frequencies. That's why I never really believed in that whole stasis chamber theory, where some starseeds are saying that we're currently in stasis, and that soul was extracted from our original body in order to be downloaded into this third dimensional avatar. On the contrary, I believe that we do operate different avatars, and we operate them all simultaneously at the same time. So as we raise our frequency through our emotions and our thoughts, then we also expand our consciousness. And when we do that, we're able to access other levels of reality that normally we don't, based on the five senses and based on the programming that we all had to undergo when we came to this earth.
Some people are saying that we're going to take our 3D bodies when we go to 5D. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's matter on every level of reality. So your 3D bodies are going to actually transform to or become modified to become to match your fifth dimensional avatar. So your fifth dimensional avatars we're all perfect. There are no abnormalities. There is no illness. Everyone has their ideal body and form. And so in order for us to understand the difference between the fifth dimensional avatar and the third dimensional avatar, we have to understand that our third dimensional avatar is also a reflection of our thoughts, of our current thinking, of our emotional state of being. So in order to change that, you know, through the science of epigenetics, as proven through Bruce Lipton, we're capable of changing our bodies. We're capable of changing our cellular structures through our thoughts and our emotions. And so there comes a point when we do ascend our consciousness and we transfigure our bodies to match our new modified bodies, our exalted bodies that exist in the fifth dimension. And that's why I've always believed that this is the last incarnation, that, you know, these are the bodies that we're going to keep. And they're not so much different from our fifth dimensional bodies, except the fact that our fifth dimensional bodies, you know, are perfect. They don't have blemishes. If people are overweight in the third dimension, you know, they're slimmer in the fifth dimension. If people have acne in the third dimension, they don't have acne. They have flawless skin. And that's the only difference. But for the most part, our third dimensional body does resemble our galactic fifth dimensional body. Yeah.
And do we all go over into that 5D all at once, or does it happen in stages to every person differently?
Well, throughout history, it has happened in stages. It explains the ascended masters and ladies of light that have ascended into the fifth dimension by will and by choice, of course. But right now, due to the times that we're living in, we are offered an opportunity to ascend with the entire planet, because there is such thing as planetary ascension, and our entire planet is getting ready to ascend. And so, for the first time in the history of the Earth, humanity's being offered an opportunity to take this free ride. Of course, if you are at least 51% service to others, you know, you're going to at least make the fourth dimensional Earth. But if you're still, you know, living in like negative feelings, if you're still out there being a bad person, a negative person, you know, a wicked person, then I don't foresee you making the shift. So the difference now is that there's going to be a planetary ascension, and only the righteous are going to go.
Mm-hmm. So what does the future hold for our planet? Where are we going next?
Well, we're not going anywhere. We're actually just translated into the fifth dimensional heaven on earth, which is already existing all around us. It's just in a different vibrational frequency or state of reality. And like I said, when in prior interviews, that once enough of us are fully healed, once enough of us are able to absorb and harness all that light frequency vibration that is coming in through our sun, the gamma ray frequencies, it's going to automatically catapult the rest of humanity, because we do share a mind hive, a planetary mind hive. It's going to catapult the rest of humanity into that higher reality, into that new heaven on earth, and it's already there, fully intact. It's not like we have to build it. You know, some people say, well, it's going to take years to build the new earth, and I says, no, it's not. It's already there. It's just in a different dimension. All we have to do is just match the frequency, and when the sun releases its final, you know, trigger, we're going to automatically be translated into that new vibrational earth. And that's what I call the splitting of worlds. You know, it's a vibrational split, technically, not a physical split, you know.
Mm-hmm. And what about contact with extraterrestrials? Will we be given a chance to make contact at some point? What do you think?
Well, the extraterrestrials, which I call interdimensionals or extra dimensionals, they're already all around us. You know, stellar and galactic communities are existing side by side to us, and the only reason why we don't see them is because we're in the third dimension. So as a collective, as we ascend collectively into the fourth and fifth dimension, the extraterrestrials are already going to be there.
Mm-hmm. So, but while we're still in 3D, like if people want to make contact with some of the extraterrestrials, we're seeing more UFOs, UAPs flying in the sky. Will we be able to make contact in 3D?
In some cases, that has been the case. You know, there's been many people out there who have had personal experiences and contacts. Many that were left off the record, many that are on the record, many contactees out there who are able to contact their star family. And yes, that's already happening. And how that happens is that the spaceships that they're contacting, the extraterrestrials, through the lowering of their own vibrational frequency and density, that's how they become visible to those that are making contact. So it's already happening. But in order to experience a mass, exposure to motherships, spaceships, and extraterrestrial civilizations, which exist all around us. I mean, our solar system alone is inhabited with all kinds of extraterrestrials, on every level of reality. Then the collective has to collectively go into the higher dimensions. Otherwise, it's not gonna happen until the collective mind of humanity is ready to ascend. That's when it's gonna happen. That's when we're gonna actually be in a type of Earth that is already a member of the galactic community.
Mm-hmm. So you were talking about recently the light cities and what's going on in inner Earth. What are the light cities and what's happening in inner Earth right now?
Well, because the vibrational frequency of the planet is rising to the fourth and fifth dimension, these inner cities that are made out of gold, crystalline structure, are all being forced to rise. They're all being forced to rise because they do have counterparts, like I said, that exist in this Earth, in the surface. But the only reason we don't interact or interface with those counterparts on the surface is because our perception and our consciousness is still locked into a very low dimension or frequency. So the rise of these cities is happening as a result of the planetary ascension. The Earth is shifting into a higher reality, and when the shift takes place, we are going to reunite with all the inner Earth societies.
Fantastic. And what is the Galactic Alliance?
The Galactic Alliance is the reorganized Galactic Federation. After Enki's return back in 2019, the end of 2019, beginning 2020, who, by the way, is the culprit behind the programs, behind big tech. That's his idea of modifying us into immortals. His promise of the so-called restoration of the Holy Grail blueprint, which is baloney. The Holy Grail blueprint is already within our genetic DNA dormant structure, and it's already in us. We don't need any technology to become immortal. We don't need anything to become superhuman. All that is already in us. It's just a matter of going through the natural process of ascension and the activation of our dormant DNA for us to have those abilities and for us to have immortality. So because of the fact that he was able to infiltrate 1/3 of the Federation, there had to be a reorganization of the Federation. Unfortunately, due to him accessing some of the galactic Pleiadian and Lyran DNA genetics from different galactic humanoids that do have star seeds of the Earth, representatives of the Earth, he was able to access a lot of the fleets. And in a sense, he also deceived 1/3 of the Federation commanders and personnel by offering them, immortality through technology. And what it boils down to really is that he's being used as a pawn for the AI god. And, it has a lot to do with the transhumanist takeover of humanity, which is why I believe that when the solar flash does take place, that's going to go into a different timeline, and we are not going to be, witnessing or experiencing the AI system. We're actually going to be ascending into physical human angels naturally through our dormant DNA. So that's what the Galactic Alliance is. It is the reorganization of the forces of light in our galaxy. And a lot of the members of the Galactic Alliance are also Earth delegates. A lot of the members of the secret space program that are part of the Interplanetary Police Force are members of it. 1/3 of the Alliance is comprised of the Venusians from planet Venus, who are assisting us as well, with Valiant Thor. And so, it's a conglomerate. It's a collaboration, you could say, of from what I understand, there is over 200 million civilizations, stellar civilizations and galactic civilizations, not only from the Milky Way, but from other galaxies in our universe that are part of the Intergalactic Alliance. So it does go beyond our galaxy. And our galaxy is known as the Galactic Alliance, but in many galaxies within our local universe, it is known as the Intergalactic Interdimensional Alliance of Light.
And have you ever heard of the time corporations, the time police? That is within our Milky Way galaxy, that's part of the secret space program?
You're referring to the ones that manipulate time, like the Time Lords?
No, I'm referring to the ones that police the time travel stuff, and the ones that make sure that the corporations, the SSP stuff, does not overreach time travel, time corp.
So these are good guys that you're talking about.
Yeah, they're policing the SSP factions to make sure.
Oh yeah, yes, I'm aware. I didn't know that that's the name that you called them, but I know them under different names. Yeah, I am aware of that. You know, we are heavily being monitored. You know, even the Galactic Alliance is being monitored by higher civilizations that are very spiritual.
What do you call this time corporation, or what is the name that you know it by?
I call them the Emerald Order, because the Emerald Order have the ability to manipulate time, fast forward things, slow things down, alter timelines, cancel timelines, reboot universes, reset things, all at will like that. You know, their technology is unmatchable because they do it from a level of reality that goes beyond our galaxy.
And were they here during the time of Atlantis and Lemuria?
Absolutely. They have been heavily involved in the development of our species. Yes.
And do you know who set up the Atlantean project and the Lemurian project on Earth?
Yes, it was originally set up by the Syrian High Council to bring balance to the spiritual evolution and technological development, but in balance, where first they evolved the species spiritually to become spiritually mature. And then once they reach spiritual maturity, then they're able to evolve external technology while maintaining their spiritual maturity. That was supposed to be the original initial intent as to why Atlantis was developed. But of course, you know, through the infiltration of the negative Anunnaki through Enki and his son Marduk Bal, that they kind of messed things up in Atlantis times, and things just kind of shifted towards the technocratic. Believe it or not, you know, even back then we were dealing with transhumanism and AI. It's just that people don't really talk about that. You know, this AI war has been going on for billions of years.
And was Lemuria before Atlantis? And what was Lemuria?
Oh, Lemuria was a beautiful Garden of Eden, luscious green trees. If I were to describe, like, if I were to paint a picture of what Lemuria would look like, it would look like Planet Pandora from the movie Avatar. It's just crystal clear water, you know, sparkling diamonds, crystals everywhere. The ecosystem is alive, you know, with beautiful colors. And in the species of Lemuria, the Lemurians were very in tune with the earth, with the ecosystem. And they didn't use any external technology. You know, the Lemurians were so highly spiritually advanced that they were, I think, multidimensional beings. And through the power of their consciousness, through the power of fusing their consciousness with the living crystals and the living elements, that's how they were able to create a glorious utopian civilization. Yeah. And you know, they were destroyed by Marduk eventually.
And where did the Lemurians come from originally?
Well, again, you know, all civilizations here in our solar system and our planet were always seeded by the Syrians. The Syrian High Council, you could say, are the most advanced species in our universe. They are also the epicenter of the great central sun. You know, from the center of our galaxy Sagittarius, they first anchored the office of the Christ, which is what I call the seal of Pallador, the covenant of Pallador. In Sirius B, and you know, and from Sirius B, it went over to Lyra, and then, you know, from Lyra it spread to other parts of the galaxy and other galaxies. But yeah, it's all civilizations are initially developed by Sirius.
Oh, beautiful! Thank you so much for coming on the show, and it was a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise. Now, I do want to mention that I do have a second edition out of our Cosmic Origin. It's been modified where it's more digestible, it reads more concise, it's re-edited. And I also added an additional chapter that actually segues into the future war against the AI god and how we win that war, and much more. You know, I talk about what's going to happen after the ascension. So it's basically giving a vision of what happens after the ascension. And so, you know, I just wanted to let everybody know that my book is actually available on Amazon, but it's you have to click on the hard copy. And yeah, it's not really available as a paperback yet. I'm working on that though.
Fantastic.
And Thank you. I'm also going to be speaking at the LA Conscious Live Expo in February the 12th, 13, I believe, and 14. I'll be there.
Awesome.
And anything else that I want to mention? Oh, that's it. Yeah.
And how can people contact you?
Well, I am very active on Instagram. I'm under Project Restoration Zion 1. What I could do, Eliana, is send you the links to my stuff, and then you could put them in the description if people want to, get updates or want to, get to know my information more.
Exactly. That would be perfect. Thank you, Ismael.
You're welcome, Eliana. Thank you for having me here.
Have a good day.
You do the same. Bye.
Bye.